What's going on, guys? It's Shawnee Salami. Positioning is the most important skill in all of Chivalry 2, and this Lionspire game is a great example of good positioning and why it's so important. So that'll be the focus of this video on Lionspire, where we only died one time. And that death wasn't until the very end, and it was in an infuriating fashion. Wait until you see it, it's pretty funny. All I'll say is it wasn't an archer. So as we do a great job fighting against invisible weapons, another classic torn banner bug. Sit back and enjoy this game. A lot of the commentary, like I said, will be focused on positioning and tips there, because I think this video will be a great example of how you can stay in the action, get your kills, but also keep your deaths low. And I do want to shout out before we continue Lord Rouge, who will be playing with us in this game. He is a day one just about supporter of the YouTube channel and joined the Discord as soon as we made it. The Discord will be in the pinned comment. The best thing to come out of content creation for me is the community I've built, and it's a really special place to me. We're almost at 1,000 members. I believe we're at like 910. So if you want to join, that'll be in the pinned comment, like I said. We have groups going all the time, and I play with anyone who asks. But let's get into the gameplay now, where like I said, we're going to be focusing on positioning. Now, number one, specific to Lionspire, is you really have to be careful of that catapult. Doesn't matter if an enemy's on it or an ally. Now, what I like to do is, if I'm still alive, haven't died yet, and want to keep that 0 there, I'm going to move ahead of the people pushing the battering ram, because I'm valuable as a fighter. But even if you're still learning the game, there are ways you can be helping the objective even if you're not directly on it. It's a common misconception that you have to be dying on the objective constantly all the time. It's just not the case. I've learned this through doing competitive play, which we'll have more videos on, that there are so many ways you can help the team other than just dying on the objective and respawning and dying on the objective over and over again. I can do a longer video on that if you guys are interested, explaining my thoughts on doing the objective. But what I've come to realize over time is just the team with the better players is going to win most of the time. So something that is more important than positioning is getting rid of the stat patterns that just always have to be on the catapult. Get 50 kills and then screenshot it, put it all over the Discords like they actually did something and didn't just press a button and kill people from miles away. So we're going to make sure we get some damage on that and get a kill before we back up and let our teammates finish the job. So this is a problem we see right away in archers on the catapult. They all share a single brain cell. So I am not going near the battering ram until he's either dead or it really comes to desperation time. Archers love hitting us in the back with their arrows, but they're even worse when they hog a catapult and an archer spot for everyone else. It really does speak to their selfish mentality when they use things that have limited usage like ballistas and catapults. They're taking up an archer slot, which are already limited, and not even using their ranged weapon or bows, and using a ballista or catapult that any class can use. Again, this is a good thing. We don't want more archers running around, but it does speak to their selfish mentality. Something I did want to ask you guys, if you are interested in the return of live commentary to the channel, because I do have a harder time talking and playing at the same time and getting you quality gameplay, but it is easier to make, so it is something I can revisit. I also was wondering about no commentary gameplay. I was even thinking about uploading this without commentary. For me personally, as a viewer of content, I don't think it would be very exciting to watch something with no commentary. But I know that there's a market for it. There are videos up of games that just don't have any talking in it that get plenty of views. If I have a crazy game like this, or I do have the highest kill game ever on the channel coming up soon, that'll probably be the next video. It may be something I put up without commentary as well as having commentary. I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing here. Let me know in the comments. I also put up a community poll as well, asking people's thoughts on that. Now this is pretty funny. We're going to hear the ballista bolt go right by us. So something to keep in mind is, for a lot of people, especially if you're doing this on Vanguard where it's much easier to get killed, you're going to have some luck involved in going deathless. There are players that go deathless pretty frequently, but all in all, it's something that you will need luck involved for. You don't have to know rocket appliances to know that 64 players leads to a lot of chaos. You'll need some plot armor along the way. It may look like my first thought is that I'm heading towards the town square, but I actually plan on heading right to support my teammates there. But the only reason I started heading in this direction anyway is because my teammates started flooding out and had finished that fight already. What I'm doing here is just being reckless and dumb. This is just something you don't want to be doing if you're trying to position intelligently, but old habits die hard. I'm just going to let my inner berserker out. So during this 2 versus 1, I have an internal clock going in my head. If I don't finish this within a few seconds, I need to start backing up because my teammates are going to come. And if I don't back up, their teammates' spawn wave is going to come help them. That's something that just comes with time of knowing the maps and knowing how spawn waves work. But you should be having it in your head that if this fight is going on too long, it's time to reevaluate what you're doing, because you don't want to be locked in the 1 versus 1 or 1 versus 2 or 3 for that amount of time without any kind of escape plan. And now we see we have a flag here. It's always good to know where these are so you can just fight around them or even just run in circles around it to keep moving and not get shot by a vulture archer. But in this case, my team does need a lot of support trying to capture the town square. While I do back up to bandage a little bit, I want to get right back in the action because they're having some trouble right now. The overheads on the Greatsword just hit different. I don't know why I have such a skill issue with Greatsword on the Knight versus being really good with the same exact weapon on Vanguard and that being one of my top loadouts. I have no idea what the skill issue is there. Let me know if you have any weird quirks with your playstyle where that happens, because I think Chivalry 2 is really fascinating in that sense. That there's just so many different ways to approach different weapons, different playstyles, that it gives you a real sense of identity. Like, there's certain players I know who I'm fighting before I even know the name if they've been around long enough. It goes to show that melee slashers are just an untapped market right now. I just hope something with a big budget like Call of Duty eventually gets made in this style. I've always found Lionspire to be one of the easiest maps to go deathless on, as long as you can get past the catapults in stage 1. It's pretty straightforward from then on. I think people see bridges as a death trap where it's very easy to get killed, but I think fire pots are the biggest problem. On bridge objectives like this, it's also a good rule of thumb in general. You want to be on the outside of every engagement and then kind of encircle the players that you're fighting. Another tip I have for you is to not beat the absolute fuck out of your teammates over and over again and nearly get kicked for team damage like I do here. So as I said, I am going to die once in an infuriating fashion, but it won't be right there, but it just about is. Lord Rouge nearly kicks us into the spike traps, almost caught in 4K doing that. I don't know, looked pretty intentional to me. This guy is beating me up, but we luckily have the Fire Chicken squad come in. Now, these guys are going to show up for the rest of the match, just walking around with fire chickens and jabbing people to death. It's pretty toxic when someone does this, but for whatever reason, when it's multiple people, it just became funny to me, and they're going to come in and do this the rest of the match. It's one of those funny Chivalry 2 moments, the Monty Python humor. I don't know how they come up with this stuff. So this poor default footman probably just installed the game and he's getting jabbed to death by fire chickens. I can't believe this game sometimes. Check this out right here. Overhead to overhead feints on slow weapons seem to catch experienced players off guard a lot. A newer player that has a fast weapon like a one-hander or a longsword will probably gamble and just excel through it. So an experienced player that respects someone's initiative and knows the mechanics of the game will actually be killed a lot more by that than a newer player will. Now, this was pretty infuriating. I'm going to be assassinated. Just flat out, this is targeted because look what this guy's going to do. Throw his weapon at me. Then he's going to try and throw another weapon at me. And now he only has a hatchet. He hits me with it, actually, and he's going to throw it again. Now my teammates run in, but he's more focused on killing me. So for a good 10 seconds, I was pretty furious about that because I thought I had the Deathless Run secured. But in the end, it's pretty funny. On second look, it was the guy I killed just before with the Greatsword overhead to overhead feint. So he took that personally and wanted to get that kill in on me, and I respect it. At the end of the day, it's just a game. Can't get too high or too low. I have been guilty of taking this a little too seriously for stretches, and if it was one of those, I probably wouldn't have an Xbox anymore and throwing it through my window because Now, someone actually gets the defuse at the very end here. Credit to this team for not quitting, because once the Fire Chicken squad rolled up, it did start to become a bit of a steamroll, but there's no quitting them. You gotta love it. So in the end, we did win, and we went 50-1 as advertised. Not the sweatiest lobby, but if you do want to see a sweaty lobby, check out the video on the screen now where we also got a little toxic. Love you guys. See you in the next one.